8th-generation Floridian and environmental photojournalist Carlton Ward uses his talent to protect the natural habitat he loves. Take a look.
I've been photographing professionally for 15 years now. And from the beginning, my interest in photography was always connected to conservation issues, to natural environments and to cultural legacies. From my academic studies to kind of what I do now, it's that partnership between science and art that is kind of where I try to exist. The Tampa Bay History Center is a special institution to me. The curators here are not just keyed in on history from the past, but also living history.
We are a place where you can learn and engage in the history and culture of the Tampa Bay area from 12,000 years ago when people first arrived here all the way up to the present. We also have a temporary exhibit gallery where we are able to offer all kinds of different exhibits, including the Florida Wildlife Corridor Expedition exhibit, which is on display right now.
We started the expedition on January 17th, 2012 in Flamingo, in the far southern part of Everglades National Park. It was actually really a relief to put the kayaks in the water and take that first paddle stroke, because it had been nearly 2 years of intensive planning to get to that point. The Florida Wildlife Corridor Expedition team consisted of myself, functioning as a photographer. Joe Guthrie is a bear biologist whose research on black bears in Central Florida was part of the inspiration for the Florida Wildlife Corridor Expedition. Mallory Likes-Dimmitt is a lifelong friend and fellow conservationist who is directing the Colorado Plateau Initiative for the Nature Conservancy. Elam Stoltzfus is a well-known PBS filmmaker. By having a filmmaker embedded in our team, it's helping us take our messages to much wider audiences than we would be able to reach just by doing photography and writing alone. The idea of a wildlife corridor is to protect linkages between existing sections of protected natural habitat. So in Florida we have places like Everglades National Park and Ocala National Forest, big nationally significant protected areas. But if we don't protect the green spaces in between, those areas become islands separated from one another, and wide-ranging species like bears and panthers can't have the collective habitat they need to survive. From the mangrove coast and moving up into the sawgrass was one of the highlights of the expedition, because there was a point when we kind of transitioned away from the wilderness waterway and went backcountry through the sawgrass of the Shark River Slough. We didn't see a person for 3 days, and we were just out there in this vast sea of grass that, you know, it's a wilderness unlike any other in the world. From a photographer's standpoint, in order to bring a composition of a landscape together, I find that the clouds are really important. The clouds, as they move through, kind of provide that ephemeral moment that helps add that slice of life to the picture. One of my favorite photographs captured during the expedition is of an Ogeechee tupelo tree. That particular photograph is very evenly lit because it's raining. I put the camera on a tripod and it was about a 10-second exposure. So the water is actually flowing by like a sheet, so it disguises the raindrops. You don't really see them striking the surface of the water. I love photographing pine forest because you have so much texture and so much repetition and depth to the scene. So when we got to Ocala National Forest, I really had that kind of landscape view in mind. The wiregrass was in full spring bloom, which gives it this really soft, almost white coloration and texture. A lot of the wildlife images you see in the exhibit, they were captured on camera traps. So this is an infrared tripwire that I set up across a game trail. And then as the animal walks through and breaks that beam, it takes its own picture. we hiked through the Fakahatchee Strand, I got introduced to the ghost orchid for the first time. The ghost orchid itself is such a fragile flower that it hangs from the edge of the tree by this very thin stem that's like a long spring. And the slightest bit of wind movement or even the wing beat of a mosquito can send it dancing. They probably call it ghost orchids for other reasons, but to me the thing was so elusive and ephemeral to try to photograph it, it kind of lived up to its name. I'm approaching what are already very beautiful subjects, and I don't know if I'm necessarily creating anything there. I'm just really doing my best to capture the essence of that animal or that place or that person where its already existent beauty comes through.
Carlton's photography is really amazing, and he's able to capture really the natural look of Florida, the colors that really say Florida, the animals, the environment itself. You see the treacherous nature of Florida, whether it's a snake or an alligator, plus the amazing diversity of the fauna. He really captures that like few others have.
To the extent that we can help expand and contribute to Florida's sense of identity to include the bears and the cattle ranches and the vast connected watersheds like the Everglades and the St. Johns River, if we don't do a good job of protecting that green infrastructure, it's not just going to be bad for the wildlife, it's going to be bad for everyone who's trying to live here.
To find out more about Carlton Ward, visit the Detroit Performs website. And that wraps it up for this edition of Detroit Performs. As always, for more arts and culture, head to DetroitPerforms.org, where you'll find featured videos, blogs, and information on upcoming arts events. Also, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We'd like to thank the Interstate Gallery for letting us come by here and explore the gallery spaces and more. Next time you're out in Eastern Market, make sure you stop in as well. Until next Tuesday, get out there and show the world how Detroit performs, y'all. I am DJ Oliver. Thanks for watching, guys.